The Regional Business Council has been looking at this issue of business diversity for over 10 years. And I think we've developed now some experiences and some information and some knowledge about some of the organizations that are doing great things in St. Louis around business diversity. What that's allowed us to do now is to really focus on talent. And when we look at talent and diversity, we're looking at global diversity. And we think that the RBC companies have an opportunity to put the spotlight on this, not only in their companies, but also for St. Louis.
Companies have their own individual interests, but the RBC represents broader interests in improving St. Louis culturally, improving St. Louis from an education standpoint and from a diversity standpoint, so the entire community remains competitive.
Diversity and inclusion is extremely important to our business because it's part of our culture. It's who we want to aspire to as a firm, and it is something that I think all CEOs who are leading a firm should aspire to.
We think diversity and inclusion is a business imperative. It is what helps keep businesses sustainable. It helps us make better business decisions.
Diversity drives innovation. When you include people's collective thought from all walks of life, you tend to get the best ideas and innovation comes about. I think an innovative culture is part of this multicultural culture that we need to thrive in and grow in St. Louis.
It's important for the region to be competitive nationwide and worldwide. You know, the coasts attract a lot of very diverse people because they're close to the international locations. St. Louis is not. We really have to make St. Louis a destination.
Several members of the RBC, they're doing business internationally. How better to get a head start on what the needs of those particular communities, countries, cultures needs are.
Our clients are very focused in the global market. They are working not only here locally, but they have global subsidiaries, issues that we're having to deal with. So as we look at how do we serve them, we need to have the diversity to be able to do that.
Diversity and inclusion is important to my business because I feel that it's important that we represent the market that we serve. The St. Louis region, as well as expanding around the globe, is becoming more and more diverse. So from a regional perspective, I think it's important that we understand the difference in one another.
When we look at our company makeup, we're not as diverse as our community. We're not as diverse as our state. We're not as diverse as our nation. We're aware of it. We know we're lacking, and RBC is going to make a difference.
When we began this journey at the RBC, and a number of our firms volunteered to be part of the pilot program 7 or 8 years ago, we weren't sure first what diversity was. We weren't sure, even within our own firms, what the right metrics were to measure ourselves. We weren't sure what the best practices were. One thing we were certain about as part of the RBC and as leaders of our respective firms, it was something that we really had to become more knowledgeable about.
RBC is made up of the leading companies in the region, so it's in our unified interest to band together to really embrace this idea of diversity and inclusion. By successfully working together to retain the top talent, to attract them, to retain them, to develop them, both in the talent and also in the businesses, the minority businesses that exist in St. Louis. Our unified approach really will set us up to succeed in far more.
Within that, we are either having programs that we think will be helpful in this area, like the Mentor Network, or we're investing in programs like Insight or the Fellows Program at the St. Louis Business Diversity Initiative. We've also felt like investing in the Hispanic Chamber, the Asian Chamber, the Bosnian Chamber of Commerce. These are places where young, diverse leaders can be found, and we found by investing in those kinds of organizations, we can help grow that talent and learn from them as well.
The RBC has taken a leadership role with Inside St. Louis, bringing in minority students and showing them the city and revealing hiring opportunities to them in the city of St. Louis.
The mentor network that we have, I think, is very important. We're getting in, we're talking to those college students, and many of them are from diverse backgrounds. So getting them involved in the business community early is important.
The RBC has done some really great programs, and I think one of the significant steps that the RBC has taken is it's more than just talk. Take, for example, the Young Professionals Network that I've been involved with. To see the passion, to see the interest, to see the energy that comes out of the young professionals is fabulous. But they've taken upon themselves to create the great networking that needs to be established to draw together a great community of talent.
It is really true in the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and the Hispanic community realizes that they are recognized by the Regional Business Council and the companies that are members of the Regional Business Council now. And that's a direct result of the RBC's investment in the Hispanic Chamber.
I think the RBC is an organization that brings businesses together. The RBC has historically been a networker of what's right in the region, what helps us to connect and grow and solve the problems.
We have to look at innovation as a point of sustainability in the marketplace. And then innovation brings new ideas, brings additional talent, and we have to capitalize on the strengths and the talents and the attributes of the talent that we have here in St. Louis. And the RBC making the investment and continue to making the investment in diversity and inclusion helps to foster not just talk about inclusion, but actually have tangible results.
The RBC has started an initiative that involves most of their member companies, and I think what we're attempting to do is turn up the heat a little bit and say, look, your RBC member companies, RBC thinks that diversity is very important, but we kind of have to walk the talk. And in order to walk the talk, we have to take it to our Human Resources Department and say, we can do a better job.
It's about looking within organizations as leaders and saying, what are we doing within our companies and what are we doing externally to reach out to the community, to reach out to the talent that we need to develop and retain. And when you sum it all up, it's about the individual efforts of each RBC company. No one is excluded from this initiative. Diversity and inclusion touches all of us. It's a necessity, it's a requirement, and I think, quite frankly, it's beyond just the right thing to do. It's become something that is essential for all businesses if we continue to want to be successful in this world.
I think as leaders, as CEOs and executives, decision makers of our companies, it's not just enough for us to say we are committed to diversity. I think training is very important. I think understanding the mentality and the environments of our Human Resource Departments is essential for the CEOs to get involved.
I think we have to continue the dialogue. We can't let it stop here, and we can't say that that's enough and we're done. We have to continue to work toward that inclusion. The more people we have in the dialogue, the better the answer is going to be. So keeping that momentum going, I think, is going to be important.
Where do we go from here? I think we commit, we continue to find ways to get a homogeneous approach throughout the metropolitan area on how we can better encourage interactions between businesses, better understand our market, create an environment that makes St. Louis conducive to professionals from across the country, around the world, to make their home.
Well, I think the biggest change that I've seen since we started the pilot program was a sense of confidence now that we have by virtue of some of the programs we have in place. And it's not so much about, oh, what are the metrics, what are we going to do, how can we have some impact? We've gotten through all that. We are having impact. We are doing a lot of great things, and to me, we can touch and feel it, we can see it.
RBC member companies are companies with more might and more muscle than most organizations, and when they set their mind to something, they affect change. So I think it's a matter of a few years before we're all aware of those changes. It might be a decade or more before, or maybe 2 decades, before we say, you know, we've arrived. We don't have to worry about diversity every single day, but I would imagine in a few years we're going to look back and say, job well done.